If you were watching last week, Ty and I were in Dallas. We were covering what I think should be a mega national story. But of course, the corporate media, doesn't cover real news. You had a 26-year-old named Botham John. He's originally from St. Lucia, moved to Dallas area a few years back, murdered by a white police officer. But this wasn't like driving while black. This wasn't like a traffic stop or anything like that. Literally, he was hanging out in his apartment on September 6th, and the white police officer, we don't know exactly what happened because her story has changed more times than I've changed my underwear this week. But basically, she went to his door, she intruded in on his apartment and shot him dead. Over a month later, her 911 call has not been released. Over a month later, her police records have not been released. Over a month later, her toxicology report has not been released, which, in fairness, sometimes toxicology reports take longer than 30 days. But none of her information has been released, including she shot a man in 2017. So we have no details on that shooting. And while I was down there, we spoke with many people, including local politicians, that say she, like other police officers, has been given all of the benefits of the doubt, and she was also able to go home for 3 days after this shooting, killing this man, and scrubbing her social media. The only page that she forgot to scrub was her Pinterest page. I don't have a Pinterest, so I'm not familiar with it, but her Pinterest page, there were posts left up there basically bragging about the fact that they didn't kill anyone this week. Basically, she was very, very anti-Colin Kaepernick and the NFL players kneeling, which shows a sense of Blue Lives Matter and, frankly, shows a little racial bias. They're not kneeling for their health. They're kneeling against police brutality. There were other concerning posts. She put some posts up about Barack Obama that had a little racial bias to it. But the rest of her social media was scrubbed. Hopefully, there are forensics being done to retrieve what she scrubbed, because I think it's going to show a pattern. So while I was down in Dallas, we interviewed friends of Botham. We interviewed his minister. We interviewed a local councilman who is calling for more transparency. And we interviewed activists on the ground who were arrested at a protest, protesting on behalf of Botham John. They were thrown in jail for 40 hours after protesting for Botham John. A cop who killed him in jail for an hour before being let out, and was actually not taken to Dallas PD, where she'd have to face cameras and public activists. She was taken somewhere else where nobody knew where she was, where she could go out and go home with no cameras and no pressure. So Botham John's parents were his funeral, where they buried him, was in St. Lucia, where he was from. So they just returned to the United States, and they went to Dallas, where they spoke with the district attorney. So I wanted to update you on that. And by the way, if you haven't seen, all my interviews from that are now up on this channel, including my interview the other day with Lee Merritt, who is the Botham Jean's family attorney. In that particular interview, for some reason, my Skype thing malfunctioned, so it's basically him the whole time, and you could hear my voice. But you see enough of me. You don't need my ugly face in the interview. But the interview's up, so it's 2 parts. We cut it up into 2 parts. So let me tell you what's going on now that Botham's parents have met with the district attorney. Botham John's parents returned to Dallas to meet with District Attorney Faith Johnson, who has been under fire for handling of the case. John was shot and killed by Officer Amber Geiger on September 6th. She allegedly thought his apartment was hers. However, there are still many unanswered questions. CBS Dallas-Fort Worth reports the parents were told that the investigation is progressing. However, they do want Geiger's charges upgraded from manslaughter to murder. Allison John, Botham's mother, said, quote, "There are some questions I had before that have been answered." She continued, "Botham was aware of the inequalities of the system, and he lived his life in such a way that he would not have to interact or get in trouble because of these inequalities." And so that is what hurts me even more, that he was not running while black, he was not walking while black, he was not driving while black, but he was in his apartment by himself watching television, and he died while black right there in his apartment. Wow. That's powerful. She added that returning to Dallas has opened the wound. The family's attorney, Lee Merritt, said, quote, "The family has some concerns. We had some concerns about the length of time that it takes. We know they're actively pursuing leads. They're not sitting on evidence. However, they were not able to go into details about the evidence. We truly hope justice is served." And that was from attorney Lee Merritt. So, I'm sorry. Call me extreme if you want. This happened on September 6th. It happened on September 6th. The police department cannot tell this mother, cannot tell the attorney, cannot tell anyone why they will not release the 911 call of this officer after she shot and killed this man. There's no reason that they would not release that unless it does not make her look good, unless it makes her look reckless, unless it makes her look potentially not mentally stable, unless it reveals maybe she was drinking, maybe she had something in her system. This is all speculation because we don't have any facts to go on. But reason would stand that if the 911 call gave the officer sympathy or made it look like a really, really tragic accident, that would have been released by now. Don't you think? So, just imagine, I don't have children, but just imagine as a parent, if your kid was assassinated in his or her apartment, and over almost 2 months later, you don't have any explanation or answer to it. Of course, investigations go on, but when is this investigation going to wrap? When are they going to release any information? And why is it that the Texas Rangers, because Dallas PD delegated the case to the Texas Rangers to say, we're not going to investigate ourselves, what was the information they had which gave them the determination that this was manslaughter? Because as Lee Merritt said, when I interviewed him the other day, it doesn't matter whether she thought it was her apartment or not. Her decision to kill him was murder. Okay, benefit of the doubt. She thought it was her apartment. Okay, well, that doesn't give you license to kill him. Just because a burglar is in your home, it doesn't give you a license to kill the person. And however she got into that apartment, there's enough common sense that would kind of inform you it's not your apartment. So, for example, when I walk into an apartment that's not mine, there's different furniture. There might be a different layout of the apartment. There's pictures of family members, of friends, or vacations. So I would kind of have enough common sense, and I'm not a trained police officer, to know, oh shit, I'm in the wrong apartment. Paul says, this lady stole everything from him. His freedom, his home, his life. Yep. And by the way, if this was a black police officer that shot a white boy or definitely a girl, you better believe they would have released that 911 call. You better believe they would have released the information on his the shooting where he shot somebody else in 20. That's another big thing. She was involved in a shooting in 2017, a year ago. So yes, it's important to cover, President Trump's racism, his blatant, just total fear-mongering about the immigrant caravans coming in, because it's all racism and bigotry and dog whistling. Yes, that should be covered. But the fact that you have a black man, literally a religious leader, both of them, John, taught Bible class Wednesday nights at Dallas West Church of Christ. He led them in song Sunday mornings. I'm not a religious person, but this guy was a good guy. Even if he was a bad guy, he didn't deserve to die. Okay? I'm white. I recognize my privilege, but it is my responsibility as a journalist and your responsibility as good people to keep attention on this, to demand answers. Because the bottom line is, if you're progressive, black lives matter, and they should have the same rights, and there should be the same outrage, and there should be the same standard for them than us. That's what I believe. It's depressing, but well, I'm going to follow up. I'm going to keep following up. I'm going to keep following up on this case because honestly, the Trayvon Martin shooting and death didn't get a lot of attention at first. Michael Brown shooting and death didn't get a ton of attention right away. A lot of these cases lay silent for a while, and I'm not going to let this one lay silent because you should not be assassinated in your apartment by a police officer and then you be smeared. Remember, the police department leaked. The first thing they leaked was that there was weed found in his apartment. We know why they did that. So, bottom line, this family still has no answers a month and a half after their 26-year-old son was killed. And we, the public, have no answers. And that's unacceptable. So, when we cut this video, I will give you the district attorney's number. I will give you the attorney general's number. I will give you the police department's number. Let them know what you think. Let them know what you think.